What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk Gabumon. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Gabumon has become a bit of a thing in the Digimon trading card game. We got the big bad level 6 Gabumon in the most recent set, and would you believe it, people have made an archetype about it. We do have a winning deck we can have a little bit of a chat about, and you know what? That's exactly what we're going to do. Shout out to Abina_Labo over on Twitter for sharing the winning deck list, and the lovely folks at Ensan Gaming for making me aware of it. Now, we do need to start off with Digitama, and they are obviously not Gabumon. Gabumon's not a level 2, but we do have a playset of Uppamon. Uppamon, I have long thought, is the best option as a just generic blue Digitama. It lets you draw a card when you are attacking, as long as your opponent has any Digimon with no Digivolution cards. It seems pretty gosh darn good. It's a draw engine. That'll do big. Now, we do see a one-off Digitama as well. Remember, you are allowed to play 5 Digitama in total. So, we have a 5th one here. And it's Demi-Vmon, specifically the Demi-Vmon that came around in the Old Force Vidramon starter deck. When you attack, if you've got 8 or more cards in hand, you gain 1,000 power. Now, I have often thought that is unlikely, to be blunt, but we've got some good options here for drawing cards, one of which we've already seen, so maybe we can actually get this working. That would be kind of fun. Now, moving over into the level 3s here, we have got, and this might shock you, a whole bunch of Gabumon. We have a placer of the Gabumon that came around in BT1, the one that when you play it, you draw a card. More draw, that's a good thing. Although remember, Gabumon, you're dropping Gabumon from your hand and drawing a card. You replace it, but you don't actually end up gaining a card with Gabumon. That's fairly important to note. We then have a playset of the Gabumon that came around a fair bit later, if I'm honest with you. In fact, they're in the most recent set, in BT6. On all turns, when you play a Tamer with Matashita in its name, you gain a memory, and that stacks. So if you've got 4 Gabumon out, you can play Matashita and gain 4 memory. That's awesome. And when you are attacking once per turn, if this Digimon is Gabumon Bond of Friendship, you may unsuspend this Digimon. Basically, you Digivolve this into Gabumon Bond of Friendship, and then you get 2 attacks rather than 1. Suffice to say, that is what we're building up to with this particular deck. So we had to have a playset of this Gabumon. It was kind of a given. We also see 3 copies of another Gabumon here, because, I don't know, why would we not? It is the one from that Old Force Vidramon starter deck, because on all players' turns, if you've got 8 or more cards in your hand, you gain 1,000 power. And again, we are pretty confident in this deck that we are going to be able to have 8 or more cards in our hand, at least sometimes, because otherwise we wouldn't be playing these kind of cards. Now, there are actually some level 3s here, which shockingly enough are not Gabumon. I was also slightly taken aback, including the Vmon from BT3. As a playset of this here, it's got jamming. And jamming means you will not be deleted by security Digimon, which is awesome, because you're tiny and have very little power. But it doesn't matter how tiny you are, and it doesn't matter how little power you have, because your opponent cannot delete you with a security card, no matter how powerful that Digimon would be. An option, etc. could, obviously. And that's going to give you an advantage, that's going to give you some speed in the early game. And then we've got a couple copies of Elecmon. Elecmon is a 2 cost to play. It's not a particularly exciting card, but it's a 2 cost to play normally, which gives you an option for a nice cheap level 3, and that's where we want to be going. Now, over in level 4 territory, things are a little bit weirder. We're a little bit more... Well, there's many different ones, okay? There are a whole bunch of level 4s we're playing here. We have got the fairly recent Cordramon that came around in that Old Force Vidramon starter deck. Yeah, there are a bunch of those cards. This is the 3rd one already from that deck. The starter decks are good. Make sure you pick them up. It is a security card, so if it comes out as a security card, you get to play it at the end of the battle. And when you play it, you draw 2 cards. Yes, if it comes out as a security, you're still playing it, so you still draw the 2 cards. That's kind of awesome. Full playset here because either it's a security card that also draws you 2, or it's a 6 cost that just draws you 2. Either way, it is absolutely a cool card you're going to want to have and want to be playing around with. We have a playset here also of the Gorillamon, and like the Elecmon we mentioned a moment ago, there's nothing good about this Gorillamon. There's nothing particularly special or impressive about this Gorillamon. What we can say about it is, it's a 1-cost to Digivolve, and that's it. That's why we play it. It really is as simple as that. Now, we do have a couple copies of the Grizzlymon here that came around in the original Blue Starter deck. It's a blocker. You have to pay 2 memory to attack. You're not going to pay 2 memory to attack. I mean, you will if you're desperate, obviously, or if it's going to win you the game. Generally, it's just here as a blocker, and you know what? That'll do just fine, ladies and gentlemen. It works nicely as a blocker. Now, we have a couple copies of the Lobomon, which just came out for us in BT4, or, well, it depends when this gets uploaded, really, but around about now. You may Digivolve it from a blue Tamer as if they were a level 3 Digimon. Now, we're playing a bunch of Tamers, we'll get there in a moment, but it means you can go from those Tamers into Lobomon, together with your, honestly, pretty sizable amount of level 3s. I mean, by my count here, we're playing 17 level 3s, that's a lot. Now you count your 8 Tamers as well, fair to say you're going to have something you can Digivolve into Lobomon. That seems pretty clear. We then have just a singlet copy, one single copy here, of the Kendo Garuramon from BT4, which again can Digivolve from either a level 3 Digimon or a blue Tamer. And then when you're attacking, you return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to their hand, trashing any Digivolution cards. It's just another option in terms of having a hybrid Digimon. Lobomon's our general choice here, but Kendo Garuramon here is quite nice just as another option, and it's got that extra little skill coming in here as well. And this is where things start to get a little weird. I've told you about 17 level 3s, I've told you about 13 level 4s. Wussy, we're running out of room for level 5s now. What are we going to do? And the answer is nothing. We don't have any level 5s in this deck. We don't have any level 6s in this deck. We go right up to the level 7 Gabumon Bond of Friendship. But first, we need to have a little bit of a chat about Matt Ashida. This is the Tamer card. We are playing 4 copies of it. And frankly, this is pretty gosh darned important. This is what makes the deck run. Do remember, of course, that you will gain memory with the other Gabumon when you play it, which is cool. When your Digimon with Gabumon or Garuramon in their name are moved from the breeding area to the battle area, you gain a memory and draw a card. Now again, I've told you this deck can sometimes really need to have a large hand size. This is going to help you out rather nicely. Plus you're gaining memory, and you're gaining memory when you play it. Over the course of the game, this should gain more memory than you spend to actually play it. But the reason we're playing it here is because once per turn, you may Digivolve one of your Gabumon, and we have plenty of them, into a Gabumon Bond of Friendship in your hand by paying its Digivolution cost, ignoring its level Digivolution requirements. Now, if you do, you have to trash the top 2 cards of your security stack. And then if you have 1 or more security remaining, you delete that Digimon at the end of this turn. Oh. So, when you're bringing out this Gabumon Bond of Friendship, it's not some big thing. We don't have the level 5s and 6s to Digivolve this up normally. We're only getting it into play using Matt Ashida, and that means giving up 2 security, and then if you've got security, you lose it at the end of your turn. But this is a kind of, you pop along with your little Digimon. You can play this like Rookie Rush. I've told you there are 17 level 3s in here. And 4 security Digimon, which you might be able to play for free as well. You can play this deck like Rookie Rush. And I suspect in a fair bunch of games you're probably going to. Just getting at your level 3s, and especially, one of them's got Jam in, so go from there. But then you can Digivolve one of your level 3s straight up into a level 7. That sounds pretty good to me. And while we're here, I should mention we do have another Tamer, and we do play it as a full 4 copies here. It is, shall we say, not as important as Matashita, but it is the Davis Motamiya from BT3. It puts your memory up to 3 if it wasn't there at the start of your turn, and when you play, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and add a blue and green Digimon from among them to your hand. Now look, there ain't no green Digimon here, we ain't grabbing any green Digimon, but you can grab your Gabumon, and that is pretty important, because that is kind of what you're playing here. That's kind of what your deck is revolving around, so you want to have the option of grabbing that card as early as you possibly can, and this is one of the ways you're going to be able to do so. It is, to be blunt, pretty gosh darned important. So yeah, we're playing a playset of Davis Motamiya here as well. So going then to the Gabumon Bond of Friendship, what does it actually do? Why are we bending over backwards to get it into play? Well, once during your turn, if you have a Tamer, you may unsuspend it. Now, bearing in mind, we've already got the Gabumon from BT6, which says, when you're attacking once per turn, if this Digimon is Gabumon Bond of Friendship, you may unsuspend this Digimon. Yeah. So, I believe you can use both of them and actually be attacking 3 times. So fine, you might have to give up 2 security, and there's a decent chance it goes away at the end of your turn, but you're going to have a Tamer in play. It's going to have Digivolve from Gabumon, right? Because if you haven't got a Tamer in play, you cannot Digivolve Gabumon into it, and we're not playing 5s and 6s, so that is literally, and I mean very literally, the only thing you can do to get this Digimon out. So, yeah. It's not going to work, unfortunately. You've got to have the Tamer, you've got to have the Gabumon. So you're going to get 3 uses of this Digimon. And that's why we don't really care about the fact that it's so awkward to get out, because it is absolutely going to be worth it. Oh yeah, and when you attack, you return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to the bottom of their deck, trashing any Digivolution cards. Again, that's not the reason we play it, but if you're going to be attacking like 3 times the same Digimon, getting rid of 3 of their Digimon while wrecking their stack, that sounds like a pretty fun thing to do, quite frankly. I think this is going to be fun. You can see how this deck is working. You've kind of got your whole Rookie Rush thing going on there a little bit. You've got some hybrid Digimon building in, but then you build up to your Gabumon Bond of Friendship for your big explosive turn. Now, we do have a bunch of option cards coming in here as well, one of which will seem very, very familiar to you. It's Hammer Spark. It's a 0-cost card that gains you a memory, but if it comes out as a security card, it gains you 2 memory instead. It's not a out-and-out stunning, phenomenal card, but what it is a very reliable card, especially as a security card, so we see it popping up. It was in every blue deck, it's kind of fallen out of favour a bit, but it's coming back here. We've also then got, not a full playset, but 3 copies of Rattlestar. Return one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to their hand. If your opponent has 3 or more Digimon in play, return one of your opponent's Digimon, no limits here, anyone you want, to the bottom of their owner's deck instead. Yep. And trash all Digivolution cards. So either you put one into the hand or on the bottom of the deck, either way you're getting rid of it. Again, as a security card, it's free. A lot of the time you're going to want it to come as a security card. And then we got just a single copy of Cocytus Breath from the original starter deck. A 7-cost card that lets you return one of your opponent's Digimon to its hand. It is basically your emergency card. There is one Digimon on the field that, to be blunt, I cannot deal with. This will have to do kind of card. And in that regard, it works kind of nicely. It also means that between these option cards and your Quadramon and your Tamers, there are going to be many, many times during the game where your opponent attacks a security and then you actually get a pretty nice advantage from it, and that is pretty gosh darned cool. Here is a deck list as a whole. I've been showing you some weirder decks lately. It really does seem like I don't know whether it's our familiarity with the game or whether it is Bandai trying to push us this way with some of the mechanics, but we're seeing more winning decks that are less this many 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s, and more look at these cool tricks I can pull off. A deck with 17 level 3s, 4 level 7s, but no 5s and 6s was unthinkable a couple of sets ago. But apparently these kind of things are getting a little bit more normal now. It's a little bit weird, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm liking these decks. I am liking them very much indeed. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.